Welcome back to day number 8 of our 30-day Q&A challenge. Today we're answering the second part of Megan's question, which is fantastic. Now, first things first, a little housekeeping, guys. One thing, my name is Colton with Colton's Horsemanship, and we are here to give your horse the best human experience possible, and you as the human the best horse experience possible. And that is why we are answering your questions every day for the next 30 days. Now, some of you guys have mentioned that you love the ebook version of the ebook, but you're not somebody that likes to be on your phone too much, or you don't want to be reading on your computer. You like to be in the barn. You like to have that information with you. And the fact of the matter is that we know that you're 42% more likely to achieve your goals if you write them down. And so when we created this ebook, we've also have the ability, and we will be willing to send you a copy, a physical hard copy of this book, which is Be a Leader Worth Following. It's designed to help you connect deeper, build deeper relationships, have tactical exercises to implement in your own life as well as with your horses. And it has an entire workbook in it. That way you can write down and create your process for taking you and your horse's relationship and your skills to the next level. So if you want the physical copy of this book, comment down below. We will make sure that you get the link so that you can have it sent straight to you and you guys can get started with that. Now, without further ado, second part of Megan's question is fantastic. A little bit lengthy. I'm going to keep talking pretty quick because I want to be respectful of your time and get as much content in here as possible. So the first part of Megan's question says, do you keep lists of things that you've worked on to stay on track, or do you approach each day the same and start from the beginning? Megan defines the beginning as, are there exercises you go through each time you start a session on the ground or ridden so that you have a starting point? This is a phenomenal question, Megan, and just the first part of her two-part question at least here. And so, do you keep lists? Yes, I absolutely keep lists. What we have done is I have created more and more structure behind our program and it's basically, the structure is goals. These are the things that I would say, if my horse truly has a solid foundation, they have these mental skills, these emotional skills, and these actual tactical physical skill sets that they can do on the ground or under saddle, okay? So I've structured that out, and those are kind of our big hitting list. These are what we're trying to develop. When someone sends a horse into training, which is the caveat to Megan's question, is that this is a lot about training horses, but it's no different than you training your own horse at home, is that in order for my horse to be certified with a solid foundation, they need to be able to do X, Y, and Z at mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. You know, they have to have these concepts in that education. I've created that structure, and the real magic is how we get to that, okay, is understanding how we need to work with our horses and guide them to get them to where they need to be. So yes, do I start from the beginning each day? Absolutely. And what does that mean? What is that beginning? Well, Megan defined the beginning as different exercises that we would have on the ground or under saddle. Yes, I start from the beginning, but the horse gets to decide what the beginning is that day. So I will look at my horse, and if the horse is brand new, never been started, we're looking at the beginning is probably going to be our round pen work. The first 3 steps that I take through all my horses, you know, the established direction, change the direction of the inside, as well as speed control, I start them there. If a horse is a little bit further along, say they're being ridden, but maybe I need to do a little bit of groundwork with them before I step on them, then that's the beginning. I don't have to go back to the round pen work, which is the very, very, very beginning, right? But I just start with them on several different groundwork exercises, then prep them to get on. Because ultimately my round pen work, my groundwork is a means to an end to be able to eventually just step right up on my horses and go for a ride. But it's all developing that horses mentally and emotionally, as well as understanding, making sure we have the physical connections, be able to influence them. Because the fact of the matter is, what is good leadership in our lives, what is good leadership with our horses, is the ability to influence, okay? And that means that as good leaders, our horses know us, they like us, they trust us. We talked about this a couple of days ago in one of the other questions. And so the beginning really depends on where that horse is at in their education. If I divide my foundation exercises into 3 phases, okay, which is somewhat what I've done already. And if my horse is the peak of my horse's education is in the second phase, that middle phase, I might start that exercise or start that session with some exercises that are in the more the beginning, that phase 1, with my horses. And the reason I'll do that is because I want to come out and start with exercises that my horse is confident, they're already understanding in, and that way I can say, hey, the horse isn't acting anxious because they don't understand, but rather maybe they're just in a different frame of mind. I want to start with stuff that the horse already understands and is comfortable in and confident in. That way I can truly evaluate where they are at. And then when I structure my whole ride, what I end up doing is I start with the things that they're comfortable and confident in as a nice warm-up and a way for us to kind of get on the same page. Then in the middle phase of my ride, I like to stretch that and go up to the top of that horse's education level or ability. And that's where they're going to get a little uncomfortable, but that is where growth happens, okay? So I've already done my good warm-up mentally and physically, and emotionally we're on the same page. Go to that middle section and we push ourselves, we stretch ourselves a little bit, we grow through that growth phase where we reach the top of that education or the physical abilities, and we work on those things, we make progress, and then because we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, and we go through all these things, we go through the development stages, and then in the third phase of that ride, more in the cool down phase, I go back to some of the exercises that they're comfortable and confident in. Now, they might be a little better, they might be a little more advanced than the exercises that I did when I first started the ride, but I go back and I cool them down and I work on some slower, more finesse things with those horses as they cool down, and let them, so I make sure that when I go to put them up, that they're more, if I can get done with a ride, my horses are more confident, more relaxed, more focused, more understanding, and more trusting by the end of the ride. It's been a fantastic ride. So the beginning really depends on where my horse's education is at. And the beginning starts with, what are the things that horse really understands and that I can utilize as a good warm-up? And then ultimately, as that horse progresses, that should be, that part, the beginning should keep advancing. So even the evaluation starts when I go to get that horse out of the stall, or I go to get that horse out of a paddock and it leads in, or if I have somebody that's working for me and they're leading a horse in and I watch it walk in, I can kind of evaluate where that horse is at mentally. And that's really what helps me evaluate where I'm going to start with these horses, because at the end of the day, where we start is really up to the horse. As a leader, we're just there to direct, guide, and lead them through these steps. They get to decide where we start. It's our job to make sure that we're putting in the time and that we've got the structure, we got a vision for where we're going, we have an understanding of where we are today, and that we're taking the steps to make sure that we can reach those goals with our horses. It's really important that we have short-term and long-term goals, and that we're able to structure out, okay, this is where I'm at, this is where I want to be, and then we build a plan to get there, and then we put the work in to actually get us there. So that's really, really, really key. So the second part of Megan's question is it possible to follow the concept of work with the horse you have today? It has to be hard when owners have goals for their horses in a short period of time. And so she's absolutely right. It can be a little tricky that, you know, when owners have goals and they have a time frame. But the fact of the matter is that when I have a horse come into training, we have these conversations up front from a professional standpoint. I say, hey, this is what our expectation is. When your horse is with us for this long, we will do our best. Every horse is a little different. Some horses will get this done in a little bit shorter time frame, and by the time they go home, we'll have that extra time to really make things solid. Other horses, fact of the matter is, you get to the end of the time frame, and they really could use more time because they're all individuals. So as much of structure as that we've created in our program, which you guys will find in the video library that launches in like 3 to 4 weeks, then you guys will see how structured all the exercises are. But it's what enables us to be able to achieve this in the shorter amount of times is the amount of time we put in, and the fact that we understand how to work with those horses in the way we can say, hey, this is where the horse is at mentally, and this is what we're going to do to get there. And this is how we can help support that horse in their education, in their understanding. So is it tricky to meet the goals? Yes, but I think the biggest thing is communication and transparency with our owners, and even we have to be transparent with ourselves and going, hey, you know, is this reasonable? Is this absolutely reasonable that we can get this done? And then it's just making sure that ultimately the horse decides the timeline. But if we're not putting in the time, if we're not putting in the time to get to work with the horses, which we're being paid to, and we do every single day, most of our horses go twice a day, particularly in our colt start deal, in the beginning phases, and then we get them to where they're on a more regular schedule. But it's really important that, you know, we communicate that with the horse, with the owners, and that way we're doing the work that we need to get there. And then it all comes in. The fact of the matter is most people don't put the work in, and that's why they're not achieving the goals that they would like to. And so it's a big balance, right? Because if we're working horses multiple times a day, they have to be supported with gut health and with nutrition and with enough time getting turned out. So we've created this whole system. Our horses spend most of the time outside. They come in, they get high quality nutrition with forage and all those types of things, and we're making sure that horses live in a balanced lifestyle, even though they are in an in-depth education process. And with the owners, it's really a whole nother job of making sure we're communicating with them. So Megan, this has been a fantastic question. This video went longer than I'd like it to, but I hope that this brings some insight and some clarity as to kind of what probably sets our program apart from other programs, as well as that just how we approach it. This is just what we do and how we do it. And it works pretty well for us. And so if you guys want to learn more about the structure of our program and how we go about doing this, I mentioned the video library. It's going to be out in 3 to 4 weeks. You guys can comment below and say you'd be interested in that. If you want the ebook, the physical copy of the ebook, you can get that. We can drop you a link down below so that we can mail it to you. But anyway, guys, hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys tomorrow on day number 9.